times the size of Wales, and they're the busiest search and rescue unit in the country. Tonight on Search and Rescue, winchman Paul Trethewey battles the waves in a dramatic surf rescue. And a shock squadron is called to the aid of one of its own seriously ill members. It's Sunday, but it's business as usual for A Flight. They've just flown into Torbay Hospital with a casualty, and winchman Paul Trethewey is being met by fellow paramedics.
We just lifted a 45-year-old lady out of the water. She'd separated from a windsurfer, and she was getting a good old bashing from the waves. It was a pretty rough sea out there.
This remarkable amateur footage was taken from the beach. Experienced windsurfer Jenny Fox had been swept from her board by the heavy surf and had been struggling to reach the shore for nearly 2 hours. A Flight has been scrambled. Our onboard camera also captured what happened.
20 units, back there to winch. Okay, winching out. Your height is good. Move forward.
As Paul is lowered out of the aircraft, the winch operator guides the pilot.
Here's coping. The height is good. Blowing the survivor dead ahead. Forward one. Steady. Slight spin, but here's coping. Okay, your height is good. Got the survivor at about 20 units.
Just as Paul reaches Jenny, they're pounded by huge waves.
She wasn't really with it at all. She was not responding to me. The thing is, when people get to that stage and they know they're going to get rescued, they just relax and you start to lose them. So I had to keep her with us and keep her talking. She clung onto me like a bear hug, and I had to fight her off. And I was shouting at her, but she was so far gone. She was just clinging onto anything she could.
Clear of the water, winching in. Your height is good. Don't feed the cable. Try through the cable. Sorting them out. Okay, your height is good. Okay, steady there. Hoist the pilot. Winch out. Out.
Jenny was cold and exhausted and was taken to hospital where she was treated for hypothermia. A week later, and Jenny returns to the beach to reflect on her ordeal.
The current was really strong, and so all that was happening was I was just going round and round and round. I suppose you carry on and you think someone's going to come and get you on another board or a boat or something, and I don't think I'd realised how serious it was. But I think I was in the water for about an hour and 3/4, something like that. Well, I did the classic thing that I knew I shouldn't do, and I'd seen it on 999, where you're not meant to grab them too tight around the neck, and of course I did, poor fellow. I realised when I got into the helicopter just how frightened I was. I felt awful there, and I couldn't get my breath, and I started to shake. I couldn't believe the shaking. I thought I was going to die, actually, then. I really did suddenly think, you know, I felt so strange. And a feeling of guilt, really, at having caused so much trouble. I'm very grateful, incredibly grateful.
Back in the air, pilot Al Potter and his crew have been diverted from a training exercise to an incident at Milford Haven. Early reports are vague.
We're going to a report of a man trapped under a boat. We don't know whether that's the shore, in the water. We don't know anything. Unfortunately, it's one of those ones that we'll have to decide what to do when we get there.
A Prince's Trust sailing trip for special needs youngsters has turned to tragedy. In fact, it's an 18-year-old girl who's been trapped beneath a capsized dinghy. And although she's been recovered from the water, her condition is critical and she must be rushed to hospital.
5 foot of cable. Plenty of room on the left. Rescue 169, there was one casualty on board. Request you advise them to have a crash team standing by.
Rescue 169, Roger Wilco, 60.
Once at the hospital, winchman Ants Males and winch operator Doug Penman go with the girl to brief the medical team, leaving Al and co-pilot Phil Faisal to wait on the helipad.
I think everybody has jobs that they remember, for good and bad. One of the worst ones that I've thought about have been children. With children of our own, it's quite poignant, really. Yeah, can't stand that. Hate it. Upsets me.
On returning to Chivenor, Ants Males gets an update.
The casualty was getting an output from their heart, which initially was a good sign that, you know, possibly she could be revived. And then after returning back to Chivenor and phoning back, the hospital later informed me that she was pronounced dead at 5 minutes to 6.
There's not much humour knocking around tonight. Guess we'd all hope for a better outcome. Because we've done everything possible trying to make sure that, you know, if there was a slightest chance, then that chance was given. And all for nothing in the end.
"8,000 miles away in the South Atlantic, Winchman Steve Buck Taylor is settling into his Falklands tour.
Hello, I'm finally in the Falklands, unpacked, I've already done a bit of flying. I've been mainly moving troops around, supplies, getting people from A to B.
There's the crew. And they're all saying hello, look.
I'll show you my view. The cabins you can see are all wood, nice and warm, but they burn very quickly apparently. Hello.
Hi.
Buck gets a weekly phone call from his wife Jenny.
I'm going to point out a map of the Falklands so you can see where I am.
What do you mean?
Just there, look, can you see?
What?
Where are you coming from?
What are you doing?
Hello, Rachel.
Go say bye. Give him a kiss then.
Hello, Rachel.
She won't speak to you.
Right, what I've got here is a DSM SMR ROMFT chart, which for those that don't know stands for Don't See Me, See My Relief, Roll on My Flipping Time. It's a days to do chart, and I've already ticked off 4 there, as you can already see. That's me complete this week, and I'll be sending another tape shortly.
Bye.
Back home, the squadron's called to North Devon Hospital for an emergency transfer of one of its own members. Stores Corporal Jim Drew collapsed with heart failure, injuring his face.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
Feeling
A bit better today, yeah.
better.
Especially now I'm sat up.
okay.
You know, so
Jim's condition is serious, and Winchman Mick Crawford, a trained paramedic, will care for Jim during the flight to a specialist heart unit in Plymouth.
I'll see you at the aircraft, mate. All right.
Well, obviously it doesn't matter who the patient is, you want to get them to the best hospital treatment, but obviously because it's one of our own guys and we know him, it is not slightly more important, but comes home to you a little bit more, I would say.
A doctor joins the crew for the flight to Plymouth.
Basically what's happened is that he's got this infection which we don't know where it's come from, and it could have just come from something like brushing his teeth, where you always release a bit of bacteria into the bloodstream, and for some reason in his case the bacteria has settled on his heart valve and is eating away that heart valve.
22 Squadron performs 27 medevacs every year. With Jim in good hands, Mick can relax a little.
Okay, what you'll notice here now is that the patient has gone to hospital and the 2 rear crew are actually tidying up the aircraft. And the pilots, hello? No, nowhere to be seen, which is quite a frequent
Nothing
occurrence.
unusual there.
Next week on Search and Rescue, the squadron gets bad news about Steve Buck Taylor.
We just heard that Steve Taylor's had a bit of an accident in the Falklands. We're not sure how serious this is. We're just waiting for some more details to come through from the hospital.
Also next week, a nighttime ship rescue 200 miles out at sea.